The rain fell in steady sheets, drumming softly against the neon-lit streets of the city. Puddles reflected the bright signs of shops and cafes, turning the world into a blur of colors. Inside one small, quiet cafe, the warm smell of roasted beans and sweet pastries mingled with the soft hum of conversation. James, an ordinary man with kind eyes and a gentle smile, sat by the window, watching the rain. He liked small acts of kindness, buying an extra muffin for someone, helping a stranger carry their groceries, or just listening when someone needed to talk. It made him feel connected to the world, even in this bustling city full of people who ignored each other. Then he noticed something unusual. In the far corner of the cafe sat a tall figure, alone. At first, he thought it was a person wrapped in a thick coat, but a closer look made him pause. The figure's skin shimmered like polished metal, scales catching the soft glow of the cafe lights. Its eyes were large and luminous, filled with a strange sadness. The alien didn't order anything, and only stared silently at the menu, as if it could not decide. Around the cafe, other customers whispered quietly. Some stole nervous glances, unsure what to make of the unusual guest. A child peeked from behind her mother, then hid. James felt an odd pull in his chest, a mixture of curiosity and concern. He didn't know why, but he wanted to reach out. "Rough day?" James asked, his voice gentle as he walked over, carrying 2 cups of steaming coffee. The alien looked up slowly. Its glowing eyes studied James for a moment, and then it nodded. There was hesitation, as if it was deciding whether to trust this human. Finally, it accepted the cup, fingers brushing lightly against his. The gesture was small, but something about it felt important, almost sacred. They sat in silence for a moment. James didn't know what to say. The alien didn't speak either. It just held the cup, eyes distant, as if it was seeing something beyond the walls of the cafe, beyond the city, beyond the planet itself. James smiled faintly. "Coffee always helps," he said softly, "even when the world feels heavy." The alien tilted its head slightly, as if considering his words. There was a quiet intelligence in those glowing eyes, a depth that made James realize this creature was far more than it seemed. People around them continued to whisper and steal glances, but James didn't care. He felt drawn to this lonely visitor, as if some invisible thread had connected them. Outside, the rain continued to fall, and the neon lights shimmered across the puddles. Inside, a simple act of kindness had begun something extraordinary, though neither James nor the alien knew it yet. For the first time in a long while, the alien seemed noticed, and that small human gesture might change everything. The audience could feel it too. Something mysterious, powerful, and important was sitting quietly in that corner, and James, as ordinary as he seemed, might be the first to see it.
James and the alien sat across from each other, the steam from their coffee curling between them like quiet smoke signals. The alien's glowing eyes flickered slightly, reflecting the warm light of the cafe. There was something different about the way it moved, every motion smooth, deliberate, and almost too perfect to be ordinary. James couldn't stop watching, feeling a strange mix of curiosity and awe. "So, you've seen many worlds, I suppose?" James asked, casually, stirring his coffee. The alien's gaze lifted to him, sharp yet distant. "Worlds beyond your stars," it said, in a soft, echoing voice. "Empires ruled by fear, leaders who dread the power of kindness." James chuckled nervously, trying to hide how unsettled he felt. "It sounds like a storybook or a warning." The alien's lips curled into a faint, almost invisible smile. "It is both," it replied. "Sometimes the smallest acts of warmth can shift the balance of power more than armies ever could." James nodded slowly, smiling to himself. "I like to think a little kindness goes a long way." As he spoke, he noticed something strange. The alien's eyes glimmered brighter for a moment, almost like distant stars shining inside them. And when it adjusted its posture, James could swear it moved in ways humans could not, its motions too precise, too elegant, as if it were aware of gravity in a way no ordinary creature could be. Outside the cafe, the rain pattered against the windows. James turned slightly and noticed street drones hovering near the building. At the alien's subtle glance toward the window, the drones immediately changed course, moving away as if they feared the presence of the figure inside. James froze, his heart skipping a beat. Something about this creature was far more powerful than he could imagine. Still, he felt no fear. Instead, he felt empathy, the same urge that had made him offer coffee in the first place. From the table, he grabbed a freshly baked muffin and slid it across toward the alien. "Here, it's my favorite. I hope you like it." For the first time, the alien's expression softened. Its glowing eyes seemed to shimmer in surprise, almost touched. It reached slowly, gently taking the muffin. "Such small gestures are so rare," it said quietly. "Even the strongest beings rarely show this." James shrugged. "Humans are strange that way, I guess. We try." The alien's gaze lingered on him, studying him closely. Its voice lowered, almost to itself. "You are different. I have not met one like you in centuries. Your heart is unusual." The audience could feel it too. This wasn't just an alien visiting Earth. Something monumental hid behind those glowing eyes. Something powerful enough to command fleets, yet moved by the simplest act of kindness. James had no idea that the choice to share a muffin could change the course of galactic events, yet the alien recognized it instantly. As the cafe buzzed quietly around them, the air seemed heavier with unspoken secrets. And somewhere deep in the alien's stare, the first seeds of trust and wonder were beginning to grow.
The rain outside had slowed to a light drizzle, but the city streets still gleamed under neon lights. Hovering silently above the cafe, several small security drones scanned the area, their sensors casting faint blue glows on the wet pavement. James noticed them briefly, but paid little attention, too focused on the strange, quiet alien across the table. Yet others were watching. A few humans whispered nervously at the counter. Even some aliens, hidden among the evening crowd, kept their eyes on the cafe. James caught fragments of hushed words. "The Emperor, he's here." The alien shifted slightly, its glowing eyes locking onto James's face. For a long moment it seemed unsure, as if it weighed the risk of speaking. Then, in a low, almost reluctant voice, it said, "I shouldn't be here. I am far more than I seem." James blinked. He had expected strange, eccentric words, but not this. "More than you seem?" he asked quietly. "Like powerful?" The alien's gaze drifted to the window, and James noticed the subtle tension in its posture. "Powerful, yes, but not all power is welcome," it said. "Many fear it. Many would destroy me if they knew I walked among them." James nodded slowly, still calm. "Well, that's their problem, not yours. I'm glad you're here. Coffee is better with company." The alien studied him carefully, and James sensed something in those glowing eyes, curiosity. No one had ever responded to it like this. No one had spoken without fear, without flinching. Humans were unpredictable, but this human, he was different. Then, without meaning to, the alien's hand hovered above the table. A small sugar packet lifted slowly into the air, spinning gently above James's cup. The movement was subtle, almost imperceptible, yet impossible to miss. James simply smiled and reached for the packet. "Need a hand with that?" he asked casually. The alien froze, its eyes widened, glowing a fraction brighter. You do not fear it?" James shook his head. "Not really. Floating sugar is a little weird, sure, but I've had stranger mornings. Besides, it's just a sugar packet." For the first time, the alien laughed softly, a sound like wind over metal. "Few understand. Fewer are not afraid." James shrugged, sipping his coffee. "Humans are curious. We notice things, we learn, and sometimes we just try to be kind." The alien leaned back slightly, as if reconsidering everything it thought it knew about humans. This human, was different. Calm in the face of small displays of power, brave without being reckless, and still kind. It was rare, almost unbelievable. Outside, the drones shifted slightly, sensing the alien's unusual presence. But inside the cafe, nothing threatened them. A small object floated, a cup of coffee steamed, and two beings, one ordinary, one extraordinary, shared a quiet, fragile moment of connection. The audience could feel it. This alien was not merely a visitor. Something monumental, something galactic rested in those shimmering scales. And yet James did not flinch, did not recoil. Why? What made him so different? Questions hung in the air, heavy and unresolved, as the cafe seemed to hold its breath. The alien had revealed a fragment of its true self, and the human had met it without fear. Something extraordinary was about to unfold.
James sipped his coffee, trying to make sense of what he had just seen. The floating sugar, the glowing eyes, the strange power. It all made him uneasy and curious. The alien across from him, however, seemed calmer than ever, almost relieved. Finally, after a long pause, the alien spoke, his voice deep and resonant, echoing faintly in James's mind. "There is no point hiding it any longer. I am the Dragon Emperor." James froze, unsure if he had heard correctly. "Dragon Emperor?" he repeated, his voice quiet. "You mean, like, galactic ruler?" The alien nodded slowly. Then, in a sudden shimmer of light, his scales glowed brighter, sparkling like stars in the night sky. A low, rumbling sound filled the air, not from his throat, but inside James's mind. It was a roar, soft but powerful, vibrating in a way that made James instinctively lean back in awe. "I am the ruler of a vast empire," the alien said, voice calm yet heavy with centuries of responsibility. "I have fleets, armies, worlds under my command, yet here I sit, in disguise, far from my throne. I came to Earth seeking nothing but peace." James stared at him. "Why here? Why now?" "I am tired of endless politics and endless wars," the alien admitted, his glowing eyes meeting James's. "Power is meaningless when no one shows true kindness, and yet your small act,
Your simple gesture impresses me more than all the treasures or armies in the galaxy." James blinked. "It was just coffee and a muffin," he said humbly. The alien's lips curled into something like a smile, though it was hard to tell. "No one in the galaxy treats strangers like this. Humans have something rare, courage and heart, a willingness to act without fear, to be kind even when it seems meaningless. That is what I value." James felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had never thought of himself as remarkable, and yet here was someone who had commanded worlds, acknowledging the worth of a simple human gesture. Outside, the hum of the city was interrupted by the sudden arrival of sleek, black starcraft drones hovering near the cafe. Their sensors scanned the building with precision. Galactic emissaries had found him. The Dragon Emperor's presence on Earth was no longer a secret. James glanced at the alien. "What do we do?" he asked quietly, the stakes suddenly sinking in. This was no longer a simple coffee break. The safety of a galactic ruler depended on him. The alien's gaze softened, almost reverent. "You are unexpectedly brave. We must act quickly. Stay calm. You may have to protect me from those who do not understand kindness as you do." James nodded, feeling a surge of determination. Fear was natural, but courage was a choice. And humans, he thought, had always found ways to rise to challenges far beyond their size or strength. The room seemed to hold its breath. Outside, emissaries searched. Inside, a simple human and the Dragon Emperor shared a quiet moment of trust. And the city, the planet, and perhaps the galaxy itself teetered on the edge of change. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets shiny and quiet. Neon reflections danced across the wet pavement. But inside the cafe, the atmosphere was calm and still. James and the alien sat across from each other, the tension from the outside world slowly fading. For the first time in centuries, the alien smiled, fully, genuinely. It was not a careful expression of politeness, nor a mask of authority, but a simple, honest smile. James noticed it and felt a warmth in his chest. The alien's glowing eyes softened, losing the weight of endless responsibility and countless battles. "Thank you," the alien said softly. "Your kindness, it will not be forgotten." His voice carried a strange, echoing resonance, almost as if it could reach beyond the walls of the cafe, across the stars themselves. "You remind me that there are still hearts in the galaxy worth protecting. I will remember this day, always." James shrugged, feeling slightly embarrassed. "I just offered coffee. It wasn't anything special." The alien's gaze sharpened gently. "It was everything. Small gestures can change more than empires ever could. You, human, have reminded me of that truth." Outside, the hum of the city returned to normal. The black starcraft drones and emissaries had slowly left, their search abandoned. They had expected fear, panic, or rebellion, but instead they found calm. They had witnessed the courage and simplicity of a human heart and chose to retreat rather than interfere. James finished his coffee, feeling a sense of quiet satisfaction. He did not fully understand the weight of what had happened. He did not know he had shared a table with the Dragon Emperor of a galactic empire, nor that his simple act of kindness had shifted events far beyond Earth. The alien stood, glancing at him one last time. "I will watch over your world in ways you cannot yet imagine. One day you may understand what this small moment has meant for more than just us." James smiled faintly. "I hope I can live up to it," he said, though he did not know exactly what he meant. The alien nodded and vanished into the night, stepping out into a quiet alley that led to a hovering ship hidden among the rooftops. The neon lights reflected off his shimmering scales, leaving James with a memory that felt surreal, yet entirely real. Walking home, James felt the city in a new way. People passing by, lights reflecting off puddles, distant sounds of traffic, they all seemed connected somehow. He had done what humans often do best: act without fear, act with heart, and face the unknown with curiosity and courage. And in doing so, he had changed the course of history, not through weapons or wealth, but with something far stronger. In a galaxy full of power and fear, one human, simple heart proved stronger than an empire. James would never know how much he had shifted the stars, and perhaps that was the beauty of it. Heroes did not always know they were heroes. Sometimes they only knew the warmth of a smile, the weight of a gesture, and the quiet satisfaction of having done what was right.